This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Flags. When they're well designed, they can be a huge source of pride in one's country, state, province, or even city, and an easily recognizable symbol of the place you call home. When they're designed poorly, they can be confusing, hard to recognize, and something hardly anyone chooses to display. For example, I used to live in California, a state with an iconic and easily recognizable flag. You'll see it everywhere, flying from people's homes, displayed on merchandise and clothing, or incorporated into tons of local brands. It's a great flag and a symbol people are proud of. For the last few years, I've lived in Minnesota. It's a great state, but has a really badly designed state flag. A state seal slapped on a blue background, and you really have no idea what's going on with it. On top of that, so many other states have used a similar state seal on blue background design that it's hard to distinguish it from dozens of other state flags. Traveling around Minnesota, I've honestly rarely seen the state flag in contexts other than town halls or other government buildings. It's not exactly something people are flying from their rooftops, slapping on bumper stickers, or putting on shirts and hats. If you want another example, go to Chicago. Chicagoans love their flag, probably one of the best designed and most iconic city flags in the country, and you'll see it everywhere you go. I even see Chicago flags pretty frequently outside the city, with people from Chicago proudly wearing them on clothes or displaying them elsewhere. Illinois' state flag, though, is another cluttered, unoriginal state seal design, and you'll rarely see it flying anywhere. I bet more Illinoisans could probably recognize the flag of Chicago than the flag of their entire state, which goes to show just how important good state flag design is. But things are getting better. Recently, bills have been making their way through a number of state legislatures, starting the process of selecting and adopting new state flags, and in the past few years, we've seen a few start to roll out. Hello and welcome to That Is Interesting. I'm your host Carter. In this video, I'll take you through the history of state flags in the US. We'll look at some of the most well-designed flags and some of the worst ones, and we'll look at some other ones too. Flags of territories, Native American tribes, cities, and even a few small towns. We'll also look at some of the flags different states used to have, some which are horrendous and some which are actually much better than their current ones. This will be more of just a fun video where I nerd out about flags, so if you're like me and love flags, it should be a good watch. Flags aren't the only thing that needs to be well designed. If you're trying to start a blog, a newsletter, or an online business, having a nice, professional looking website will give you a lot of credibility. Today's sponsor, Squarespace, makes creating your own website easy and simple. Recently, I've been working on building my own website to complement this channel, and Squarespace has been super user-friendly and honestly a really fun experience. In this day and age, having your own website can be really useful. Anything from starting your own small business, looking to raise money for a cause that's important to you, or documenting your travels will be made so much easier with a website. And with Squarespace, you can build your own website with your own domain that looks personalized and professional. Do you want to teach an online course? Their Member Areas feature allows you to earn extra income doing just that. Want to send emails directly to your customers, start your own blog, collect donations? All that and more is easily doable with Squarespace, and you can link it to your other social media sites, as well as use their great analytics tools to see just how much traffic your site is getting. The best part is, I've got a special deal on Squarespace just for you. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/thatisinteresting to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code THATISINTERESTING. To start, what makes a good flag? Most people turn to the North American Vexillological Association, or NAVA, an organization dedicated to flag design, though I admit I became a little more skeptical after looking at some of the flags they made for some of their conferences back in the 70s and 80s. All kidding aside, NAVA has some pretty good rules for flag design that I think make a lot of sense. It should be simple so a kid could draw it from memory, its symbols should be meaningful, it shouldn't use too many different colors, and shouldn't have words or seals on it. The NAVA guidelines have thankfully become pretty standard when states issue calls for new flags. The newest official US state flag as of when I wrote this video is the flag of Mississippi. Their old flag unfortunately had the Confederate battle flag on it, and in 2020 they finally decided to change it. Even if it hadn't used the Confederate flag, it still generally didn't look too great. They held a design competition and people came up with some pretty cool designs. One incorporated the outline of the Mississippi River, one had a shield with a river wave design, and one looked pretty similar to the flag of Gondor. There was also a flag with a giant mosquito that accidentally made it into one of the later rounds of selection. The one that was selected, which was officially adopted in January of 2021, is a really nice looking flag with a magnolia, a classic symbol of the state, in the center. While Mississippi has the most recently adopted flag, just a month before I wrote this, Utah voted to select a new flag, which will formally go into effect in March of 2024. It's a much better design than the seal on bedsheet they used to have, showing mountains, which is fitting for a state with such stunning natural scenery, as well as a beehive, which is a classic Utah symbol representing both community and industry that has a historical connection to a lot of the Mormon settlers who moved there. If you've ever been to Utah, the beehive symbol is everywhere. They even have these giant beehive sculptures at the Capitol, so this one was kind of a no-brainer. 3 other states, Minnesota, Massachusetts, and Illinois, all have legislation in the works for a new flag as well. So it's entirely possible that a lot of these real bad seal on bedsheet designs might be starting to become a thing of the past. Plenty of states have some sort of iconic symbol, like Utah's beehive or Mississippi's magnolia that people associate with them. So there really are plenty of options for flag redesigns. As seal on bedsheet flags go, Pennsylvania is one of the better ones. I'm probably biased because I'm originally from there. But they have such a classic symbol they can use instead, the keystone. You see keystone designs everywhere in the state. Pennsylvanians love it. I mean, even Heinz, which came out of Pittsburgh, uses it on their ketchup, and it's on state license plates. Not having a keystone flag for the Keystone State seems like a pretty big missed opportunity to me. Most states didn't have flags at all for a long time. A few did, like Rhode Island, whose flag actually predates the American flag. Their anchor flag, which I really like for a coastal state with such a strong maritime tradition, was the colonial flag, first designed back in 1640. Most state flags came much later, though. During the Civil War, a lot of southern states designed their own flags to differentiate themselves from the country they'd seceded from. Quite a few of these states' current flags are based off of these old designs, so unfortunately there's still quite a bit of Confederate imagery in a number of southern state flags. Most state flags, though, came in the late 1800s and early 1900s. In 1893, Chicago held the World's Columbian Exposition, a huge World's Fair with beautiful architecture meant to show off the city that had just rebuilt itself from a devastating fire. Many states sent exhibitions to the fair and wanted symbols to go with them, so they designed state flags. Over the next few decades, more states would follow suit, all the way up until 1925, when the Postmaster General officially asked that every state that didn't have a state flag yet design one. Since then, state flags have been changing and adapting. Some have made major changes, like New Mexico, which went from having this monstrosity to one of the best state flags in the country, using a red Zia sun symbol on a yellow background. Others have made slight incremental changes, such as changing the exact shade of a color here and there, or adding and removing words. A lot of state flags spectacularly fail at meeting the NAVA guidelines. So many have some type of seal on bedsheet design, I won't even name them all, but here are some of them just to get an idea. There's honestly so many that states that use a state seal but a different color other than dark blue for their background are automatically in the top half of state flags just because they've done something a little more unique than the others, even if they objectively aren't very good on their own. There are a lot of really interesting and iconic state flags, though. We've got states I have already mentioned, like California, New Mexico, as well as Texas's iconic Lone Star flag, South Carolina's Palmetto, Arizona's, which reminds me of a sunset, Maryland's flag, which is chaotic, but I honestly really like, and Alaska's showing the Big Dipper and North Star, to name just a few. There's also the flag of the District of Columbia, which I really like. It's based off of George Washington's family crest, and people in Washington, D.C. love it. You'll see it everywhere. The U.S. territorial flags are generally much better than state flags. My favorites are the flags of Puerto Rico and Guam, both of which I think symbolize their respective islands really well. Now let's go take a look at some of the old state flags, and wow, were there some bad ones. I already showed you New Mexico's old flag. Here's Nevada's old one, Tennessee's, Oklahoma's. Was anyone really buying that South Dakota was the Sunshine State? It's a beautiful state, but it's really cold up there for much of the year. Here's probably the most infamous. Georgia got rid of this one in 2003, which had not only their state seal, but 5 other flags on it. Some states actually used to have better flags than they do now. Maine's old flag I actually think looks pretty nice. This is what they have today. Oklahoma's flag is generally pretty good, but they used to not have their name on it, which made it significantly better in my opinion. Massachusetts used to have this on the reverse of their flag, which is, I think, a pretty decent design. They also have their own maritime flag. With those and the unofficial New England flag, it seems like their new design, which has been in the works for years, is probably going to have a pine tree, but who knows. My favorite old flag is Vermont's, though. It was the flag of the Vermont Republic when they were an independent country and for quite a while afterwards. So it's got a lot of historical significance, and the colors really work with a state so defined by the Green Mountains and Lake Champlain. Oregon currently has a two-sided flag, and the official reverse side is much better. It's got a beaver on a log. That represents Oregon so well. Just make it your main design. The U.S. isn't just states and territories, though. A lot of Native American tribes have really nice flag designs. Personally, I really like the flags of the Upper Skagit, Northern Cheyenne, the Clatsop, the Pine Ridge Reservation, the Yavapai Prescott Tribe, and the Navajo Nation, to name a few. I already talked about the flags of Chicago and D.C., but there's some other great city flags out there. Denver, Lincoln, Nebraska, Tulsa, Baltimore, and what honestly might be my favorite flag in this entire video, Newton, Kansas. They call this design the Trains and Grains. If a small town in rural Kansas can design and adopt this top-tier flag, all the other states with their seal on bedsheet designs don't have much of an excuse. Go down in the comments and let me know which flag was your favorite. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who's already joined my Patreon. Through it, you can access different things such as behind-the-scenes videos, early access to maps I create, an exclusive Discord Q&A with me, ad-free content, and shoutouts in my videos. Please be sure to check out the TII store, where you'll be able to purchase all sorts of official That Is Interesting products and merchandise, including shirts, hoodies, embroidered beanies, masks, mugs, embroidered backpacks, laptop stickers and sleeves, and so on. I really appreciate the over 800 of you who have already joined my Discord server. If you haven't joined the Discord server yet, it's a great place to continue conversations about the topics discussed in these videos, interact with fellow viewers, and help provide information and suggestions for future videos. It's a great community, and we do fun stuff like geography game nights, live podcasts, and so on. I'll put links to both the Patreon and the Discord in the comments. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you learned something new. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover the countries, cities, people, and places of the world and beyond. These videos will leave you saying, "That is interesting."